I've got you. Thank you so much for taking some time with us. Busy week and an even bigger weekend approaching with the race at Martinsville. So just sort of heading into the weekend, can you talk about your mindset? I know you're above the cut line a little bit. Obviously, Xfinity, all of the spots are open. So just sort of how you head into this weekend.
I think this weekend's weird for us because there's a lot of guys that are capable of winning this race, not even just in that top four, but all top eight. And so, for us, we're in a little bit of a unique spot. We're above the cut line right now, but not by much. So we know that we're going to have to go and race for as many stage points and try to get as many points as we can throughout the course of the day. But I think that there's some guys that are going to be willing to, are going to be able to take some chances and give us a big challenge. That if somebody that's outside of that top four were to win, that it could potentially put us in a points battle right there at the fourth, fifth, sixth, third, fourth, fifth, sixth range. So it's going to be interesting. But I got a great team. We obviously one of our cars won there in the spring with Josh Berry. I think Noah was second in the spring. Noah and I were second and third last fall. So, I feel like we've got a good program, especially our short track program at June Motorsports. So I'm not concerned about that part of it, but it is Martinsville and anything can and will happen. And you're never really sure what to expect.
Like you said, is the focus to stay out of trouble in the beginning and just sort of, work your way to the front, or is there a different mindset because, like you said, the battle is so close?
I don't know that there is a good way to stay out of trouble at Martinsville. It just seems like it's one of those places where if it's meant to be on that day, there's going to be contact. And I don't think that anybody will make it through without some sort of contact, right? It's how you manage that throughout the course of the day, the least amount of damage possible. Pit road is extremely tight. The style of racing that we have there is extremely tight. Restarts are always hairy, so you have to really you keep all of that in the back of your mind. You have to race the racetrack and really not focus on the other competitors. You have to really, put yourself in the best position you can. And if you do that all day, I think not only will you have a shot at winning the race, but you'll have a shot at maybe being one of the guys that finishes. I think we're going to see some attrition, whether that be from our playoff 8 or not. I don't know, but I think there's definitely going to be some attrition throughout the course of the day, and not putting yourself in those positions is going to be super important.
Awesome. Well, we're going to take some questions here from the media as well. Let's kick things off with Bob Pockers. Go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, Justin, do you feel like the way you've raced people this year has earned you some favors on Saturday, or has it earned you not so many favors?
Well, the good thing is, Bob, I sat down the other day and I thought this exact question in my head. I don't feel like I have any debts to be settled against me. So I think that is a plus. Now, whether or not you get any favors, I don't know, but I don't think I have any debts to be settled against me. And I'm not sure that everybody in the top 8 can say that. So, anything can happen. But, I think this year has been really interesting. The way that everybody's raced each other, the driving styles, it's just been different than normal. It's not been any better or worse. It's just been different than what I would say we've seen in years past. And I think some of that comes down to the fact that, not only are we looking at 8 really, really fast race cars in the playoffs right here, but even before the playoffs started, there was 16 cars on any given weekend that were really, really good. And you didn't know which one of those 16 you were going to be battling. And so I think, that's been different than what years past has been. And I think that the parity of what I've seen this year of the cars, the teams, the drivers has been really interesting. So the racing has probably been a little bit more respectful, I would say, up until this point. So, I'm interested to see how that plays out. We're going to a short track where it's hairy already, and it's a cutoff race. So, I think that the tempers and emotions are going to be ramped up for sure. But hopefully you cut somebody a break earlier in the year and they remember that and they help you out for it. Thanks, Bob.
All right, we'll take our next one from Chris Estrada. Go ahead, Chris.
Justin, thanks for joining us today. Obviously, you're in a tight battle, specifically with Daniel Hemrick and Justin Haley around the cut line. You're all very consistent drivers. So as you alluded to, knowing that a bottom 4 driver can win and put you in a spot where you have to avoid that bubble, Aside from winning, is beating Hemrick and Haley specifically a priority for you and your team to reach the championship for?
Well, I mean, I think the short answer is yes, because if we beat both of those guys all day, we get more stage points and we beat them at the end. Even if one of those bottom three guys were to win, which is absolutely a possibility, we would still be in that third position. We'd still be ahead of that cut line. Life's good, right? The two up front definitely have a lot bigger margin to play with, but that's not to say that can't go away really quickly, right? We've seen it in the past. We've seen, something happen on the initial start, have a mechanical failure on the initial start, something like that. So, those guys, even though they're not likely in reach, we need to go out and score as many points as we can and get as big of a buffer as we can, to those two guys as well. Try to get as many points on them as we can as well. Justin, I believe, starts in front of me. I think Daniel starts right next to me, right behind me. So, I mean, we're going to be right there battling with each other all day, I think. So, managing those first two stages, I think, is going to be important. If you feel like you've done a really good job on those first two stages, and you've gained maybe some points on those guys, you can, I'm not going to say breathe easier, but you can manage the end of the race probably a little bit better. But again, the bottom three that are kind of in a must-win situation, any of those three are easily capable of winning the race. Daniel and Justin are easily both capable of winning the race, no question in my mind. So yeah, we're battling for every point we can possibly battle for, and the more we stay ahead of them, the better that or the easier that's going to be.
Thank you.
All right, our next question will come from Dustin Long. Go ahead, Dustin.
Thank you. Hey, Justin, last year in this race, you were kind of in the same position. You were third in the points. You had, I think, an 8-point gap over the cut line. As you talked about, the way things kind of played out, after two stages, you and Justin Haley were tied for third, fourth for that last spot. And this is a race where we saw Noah win one stage and finish second. And he needed to be up front. I'm curious, you kind of went through this situation, it seems like, last year. How did that help? What did were you able to stay in I guess, control or calm as the points were fluctuating and the guys that needed to make the moves were running up in front ahead of you at times before you went on to finish second?
Yeah, last year was really odd. I felt like we didn't do a great job through the stages to kind of put ourselves in a good position to get as many stage points as we wanted to. But we knew kind of what was going on, and there were some guys being super aggressive, obviously, with trying to get through the field. And the tough part was you had a situation like Noah, right, who needed to win the stages, win the race, try to do whatever he could, and he did that. He did a great job of that. So you got to look at all the pieces of the puzzle and say, okay, is it time to panic? Is it not? And I think that, for us as a race team on our 7 team, right, the times when we panic and we try to throw those Hail Marys and go for broke, usually that's whenever it all goes wrong, right? I think for us, the races where we stay within ourselves, we stay calm. I got a great spotter, Eddie DeHaan, and I got a great crew chief in Jason Burdett, both of which are extremely calming people, right? So for me, even in a racetrack like Martinsville where I can get amped up and excited, if I'm able to stay calm and we just do our thing and we run the same way that I feel like we've run week in and week out, we're not going to have any problems with this. Now, like I said, there's a lot of outside circumstances that could change that, but I really believe in my mind the way that our program has operated and the direction that we've gone with our program. I really believe that we've got a great shot at not only pointing our way into this, but I really believe we got a great shot at going there and having a shot at winning. So, if you win, it takes all the pressure off of all of it, right? You don't have to worry about any of it. We tried some things in the spring there as a company, but especially on our 7 car, we ran really good last fall. We wanted to try some things. We tried some things. Didn't really work out for our car, but we learned a really good notebook with, Josh winning and Noah obviously running right there with him. We learned a lot throughout the course of the spring race, and I think we can take those things and kind of put those into play and hopefully be right there contending up front. But I think that we're going to have to mind our P's and Q's and point trace the best we can. And after the end of the second stage, just go out there and do what we know how to do.
And you noted learning things from your teammates, but a lot of times we hear that driving styles are so much different that even though somebody learns something, it doesn't always translate. So was there much that's going to be able to translate from Josh or Noah? Are you that close to in styles, or is it more just things that things to do or things not to do?
I would say over the last 6 to 8 months, we've kind of all transitioned together a little bit more than what we would have been maybe say a year ago or a year and a half ago. So that helps. I think that it's interesting because even though we all, even though we all have different driving styles, one of the things that is kind of unique about our shop is we have a lot of cohesiveness amongst our crew chiefs, right, and our engineers, and they're able to really work together and help each other. And I think that when you're in these moments, right, obviously right now with the 9, we're obviously racing them for a championship, right? They're in just as much as we are for a driver's championship. I believe the 1 is still in on the owner's side as well. So you got 3 cars now going for an owner's championship. So, there would be the instinct to probably pull back a little bit. And that's really not the case. Our organization really feeds on the fact that we have 4 cars and strength in numbers, and it's strength in people. And so, even though we may not have the same driving styles, we kind of have a good understanding of, okay, well, if they run this, we can alter a few things here, match my driving style or Sam's driving style or match Michael's driving style, and feel like we're making educated decisions, even though we may not run exactly what they're running or have exactly in our car what they've got. We can make really good educated decisions to make our programs better. And like I said, we all kind of went different to Martinsville in the spring than what we would have even last fall. And so, I think that, hopefully we made the right decisions. You never know, especially with no practice. You could roll out there and take the green flag and be absolutely miserable. But I think that, our track record and our history shows that we're able to kind of do our best job and make the right adjustments and put ourselves in good position.
One last thing is, I remember last year during the playoffs after the Texas race when Noah had that disappointing loss, that you went and talked to him, and certainly as the veteran or leader of this, I guess, of this organization, I'm curious, looking at what happened last week with Sam Mayer, with Sam racing and the incident with Harrison that also took out Noah. Is that something as a veteran that you go talk to Sam, or have you talked, or is there a need to talk to Sam about a situation like that? I think he's trying to figure out how much he can race and how hard he can race some of those guys, and what he did end up putting a teammate in a bad situation.
Yeah, I think there's a time and place for that. I would say that it's been a tough week on Sam, just based on social media and people, and obviously, nobody is excited whenever 2 cars come together, especially when they're in the same organization, right? And even though the contact was with the 20, it still obviously ultimately affected the 9. But Sam is in an awkward position, right? He's learning. He's come into this sport in the middle of the season. He's obviously super young, right? Crazy talented. And I think that's the part that is really difficult. You've got a guy that's ultra talented, that is trying to earn his respect and make his place in the sport. And you obviously don't want to slow him down, right? You don't want to tell him, hey, just go out there and just ride around. But on the other side of it, these are the moments that you learn from your mistakes. And even though this is a really, really hard mistake to kind of swallow, right? You have to own it, and you have to say, hey, I messed up. And you got to learn from it. If you don't learn from it, then all of these experiences are pointless, right? And so, Sam and I have had a good relationship in the past, and this is one of those things that it's gonna take some time for him to process everything, right? And we're close into the season, so hopefully we can sit down after the year is over and not only decipher what happened at Kansas, but just in general, right? What he saw with these X amount of races, and on the other side of it too, sit down with Noah right? And have those conversations with Noah as well. How do you overcome these moments, right? And Noah's done a great job of it. I mean, he put himself in great position last fall, even though they didn't get the win at Texas and they had to go to Martinsville and try to win. He put himself in good position, and he didn't let that pressure, those challenges bother him. He was able to go out there and get close to putting himself into victory lane and locking his way into the playoffs. So, I think that's what this is really all about. And I hate it for both of them, right? I hate it for Noah because obviously he had a great race going, was going to score a ton of points and put himself in a really good position. But I also hate it for Sam in the fact that even though there was a mistake made, it's that's a lot for a young person to kind of process and deal with, kind of post accident. So, there's a lot going on.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Justin.
Yep.
All right, Justin. Well, thank you so much for taking some time with us in advance of an exciting weekend. We look forward to seeing you there, and we wish you the best of luck.
I appreciate it. It's always good to talk to you guys. Hopefully I can talk to you again next week, which means that we've locked our way into the Final Four and we got a shot at going to Phoenix. But we'll have some fun this week.
Yes, we look forward to talking to you Saturday evening.